All right, guys, good evening. It's right at 8 o'clock Central Time. We'll go ahead and get started. Don't want to eat into Coach Mallory's time as little as possible. So we're going to go and get started. First off, I want to introduce myself. My name is James Piker. I'm the offensive coordinator, offensive line coach at Alvin High School in Alvin, Texas. And I want to welcome everybody to the second annual Flexin Texan Triple Option Clinic. We hosted it last year, our first year doing it down at one of our ISD facilities just south of Houston. And we had a great turnout for the first time. We had 40 plus people in attendance from all over the country, from Illinois, from Texas, from Louisiana, California, all over the country. And the feedback was amazing. We knew we wanted to do it again this year, but with some scheduling conflicts and things of that nature, we kind of took a little more time to plan it, and we decided to go virtually. And I got to be honest, guys, the turnout, the feedback has been amazing. We've had more than 250 people register for the clinic. Right now, we've got 70 people in the Zoom meeting right now, just to talk a little triple option football on a Wednesday evening. So we want to thank you all so much for y'all's feedback, for y'all's excitement about this event. And we thought it'd be better to bring people together, whether viewers, whether speakers, and so we can share some ideas and keep this community, this unique community that we have, strong and continue to build and spread the good word of triple option football. So a couple things, Coach Gage, my head coach at Alvin, he's on the Zoom chat. He's doing his athletic director duties, attending girls basketball tonight. So he'll be in and out.
What's up, guys?
There's Coach Gage right there. Look at him doing it.
I appreciate you guys tuning in, man. We are absolutely fired up about this. Mike and I have been talking about this for about 3 weeks now. We are ready to rock and roll, man. So we appreciate you guys tuning up, and we're getting ready to get this thing cranked up and rolling.
Well, there's Coach Gage doing his boss man duties out there, doing some girls basketball tonight on this rainy night here in the Houston area. But like Coach Gage said, we're fired up. We've been talking about it for a little while there. We weren't sure we were going to be able to do it. We're going to do a little round table at our place instead. But guys, y'all's feedback and y'all been chomping at the bit to do this, and we can't thank y'all enough. So super excited to get started. Full disclosure, this is me and Coach Gage's first virtual or Zoom clinic. We've attended a bunch, but I've never actually run one before. So I want to thank Coach Mallory and Coach Bateman for kind of being our guinea pigs tonight as we get this thing started. Looking forward to it. I know they've had plenty of experience doing Zoom chats and Zoom clinics before, so kind of leaning on them a little bit to lead the way, and can't thank them enough for being the first two to go. And then at some point, I've had several questions about whether or not these videos would be posted later on. We're working on that. Every clinic presentation is going to be recorded, and we will post them online in discussion with a couple different people. Coach Green, I've discussed with you the possibility of posting things online for viewership later on at a small, nominal, or no cost option. So don't fret if you miss anything, or you miss a Wednesday, or you miss a night. Don't worry, they will be available later on, and we'll let you know when that's the case. So next up, again, kind of set it so that people's mics are on mute. If y'all could keep y'all's mics on mute throughout the presentations. I'm gonna try to keep mine low. I'm here at the home base, and the dogs get a little rowdy from time to time, and it's kind of a driving rainstorm outside. So I'm gonna keep mine on mute for the most part. If y'all could do the same, if you have a question and you want to unmute and jump in real quick, or if it'd probably be better if we just went ahead and put it in the chat box, and then we'll revisit it. But y'all have done, most of y'all have done after COVID. I'm sure all of y'all have done Zoom clinics before, so y'all know the procedure when it comes to that. And then one thing, I've had a couple questions about this as well. We'll send out another link for next week's clinic next Wednesday. So just like this week, send it out Tuesday afternoon. Kind of expect the same thing next week, Tuesday afternoon as well. And continue to spread the word. If there's anybody out there, that's kind of even thinking about toying with, experimenting with the triple option with the flex bone, please reach out to them. We're trying to grow this thing as as much as possible. Like I said, we've had more than 250 people sign up. We've had more than 34 states sign up. We've had several coaches from colleges and people from 3 continents. We've had registrants from Belgium, Canada, the United States. So we're trying to take this thing worldwide. So if y'all will continue to spread the word. And then little shameless plug here. Me and Coach Gage have discussed it. And I've reached out to some of y'all, spoken to y'all about some opportunities here at Alvin High School. Going into the off season, we're going to have 2 or 3 positions open on the offensive side of the football. As of right now, it's running backs, wide receivers, and possibly quarterbacks and fullbacks. And if you are interested, or if you know anybody that may be interested, we're just looking for some great flexbone guys to come down south of Houston, join our staff, and we can work out the positions later. I've coached everything on the offensive side. Coach Gage has coached several positions, and we're looking for some really good men that have some flexbone knowledge, some experience, and want to come down and coach at the highest level of Texas high school football, the best high school football in the country for our biased opinion. So if you know anybody, if you're interested, please reach out either after the clinic today or in the course of these clinics over the next 5 to 6 weeks. So that's our little shameless plug. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and turn it over to Coach Mallory and let him go ahead and get started with his talk. Once Coach Mallory is done, I'll kind of pop back in for a second and kind of direct us to the next talk with Coach Bateman. But like I said, I want to thank these 2 guys for kind of being the guinea pigs tonight, being the first ones to go, and really excited about these 2 talks. I think Coach Mallory, the second he mentioned steaks, I think it really hooked a bunch of people. When he mentioned and publicized his talk, I think our registrants jumped by 50 people just in that day. And then Coach Bateman's going to discuss installing option at the middle school, which I know between me and Coach Gage, and if you've ever been a part of a program that's trying to build your feeders to work into what you're doing at the high school level, I think that's a discussion we've all had once or twice, and really interested to see his input and what he has to say. So without further ado, Coach Mallory, if you want to take it and run with it, it's all yours, Coach.
Sounds good, Coach. Thanks a lot, and thanks for having me on. I'm pretty excited about this. Yeah, cooking steak. I think there's going to be a lot of guys in the coming weeks that do a good job talking about different plays, mid triple, and all kinds of stuff like that. And I just kind of wanted to go a little bit different direction. I think talking about how we go from game planning to game day, and just the stuff that we do where I put on there the art and science, just basically because there's some stuff that we do that's locked in place that doesn't really change, that's somewhat scientific. But then the other part is like, how do we fit in little adjustments we need to make or addressing issues that we have. So this is the contact info. Feel free to reach out. I'll have it up at the end. I'm not going to talk a lot about myself. We'll just get right into this stuff. But again, this will be up at the end as well. Just a little bit about our school. We're not in Texas. We're a smaller school there in Michigan, and so a lot of things are different for us than some of you guys down south. We don't have spring ball. Very, very few schools in our state have an athletic period. During the off season, we can only work with 4 guys at a time. And we just get helmets for 15 days during the summer. So it really limits how much we can deal with our kids. But just wanted to give you a look at where we're at so you know where I'm coming from. This is my 2nd year at the school. And quite frankly, the school, really good athletes historically, but have just been kind of apathetic in terms of how much they care about football. And we're starting to get that changed. But anyway, not going to spend a ton of time here. This is just what we run. We have a quarterback that throws it pretty well, so we carried less run concepts. We only carried 6 at one time, so I've got 7 here listed. But we decided this year to spend a little bit more time on the passing game, and I'll show you how we did that. But that's just a look at what we did. Again, just like a lot of you guys, zone dives are a big play. I think the past 4 years it's been 20% of our play calls. But I want to start here. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you. If this is something that you want a copy of, just reach out and I'll send it to you. But the reason that I've got this on here is because this drives all of our decisions, while we're game planning and also in games. And really, it comes down to those 3 core values at the top, which is, we're going to make sure that we're worried about us. All of our stuff is about fixing our technique, and that being water, that's a reference to Bruce Lee and just being adaptable. And then we also, obviously, just like everybody else, we want to create stress. And again, screenshot this or I'll send it to you. But I think this is important to our decision-making process and how we operate. So I felt like I needed to put it up there. Okay, game planning. This whole thing's about cooking steak, game plan, picking the right steak, getting the right cuts, getting it prepped so you do well. And so, I used to, I've been running the option since 2016. Prior to that, I had a 4-year break where we were in the gun. And then for 8 years before that, I was a split back Veer guy. And things, game planning in the flex bone is much different than a lot of other offenses. You never really know what you're going to get. That's why I put this here. This is what our season looked like this year in terms of what our opponent's base defense was and what we actually got in the game. In our terms, when we say Bearcat, it's that 6-1 look where, they got outside linebackers walked up, defensive ends playing really heavy, probably 2 A-gap players and a deeper Mike. But out of our 10 games, six of our opponents did not come out in what their base defense was. And so that really changes how you game plan. And that's why I think it's important to talk about, because I think we spend all of our time talking about how we, what plays we run, all the cool tags that we can do. But we really don't talk about how we go from Sunday to Friday night. And so this is what our Sundays look like and what our game planning looks like. Most of our game planning happens in the off season because just like you saw on that last slide, we don't know what we're going to get. And so I'll go into that in a second. The other thing that we're really big on Sundays is just doing a really good autopsy. And so, if you go back to that blueprint, we want to make it about us. And so, whether a game goes well or poorly, we're going to break that thing down and really spend a ton of time on the self-scout and really take a very dive deep into our non-efficient plays and make a spreadsheet, and that informs what we do in practice the following week. Opponent roster, I'll go through that, but we want to take a look at, while we can't do a good job predicting what we're going to see, their players are their players. And so we're going to find the guys that run the alley well, or don't run the alley well. And one of the things that's become a big thing for us, because we don't 2-platoon and the teams we play don't 2-platoon, we've got to find the 2-way guys. And we're really going to try to take some body blows on them and try to find ways to reduce their effectiveness on offense as well. Then again, we're looking for tells and cues. I got some examples of that. And then the educated guesses is just, that's kind of the vague stuff, like, maybe going back to a school that this guy, the defensive coordinator, was at before, and had they played a flex bone team, or how does their front change when they play a heavy run team and all of that. And so we'll go through this stuff here right now. First thing, off-season game planning. I think this is huge. If you look at right here, this is from this season, actually. So I'll go through our games where things didn't go well, and I'm going to pad it out. I'm going to draw everything to scale. I'm going to write down the numbers where people were, how they fit the run, and then put down notes there to try to find, like, did we have a scheme issue there, or was it a personnel issue? And then what I've gotten out of doing this process is, like, we've come across teams that had a unique way to fit us on defense. And so the types of fits that we see when we do this padding is the type of fits that we put into our practice in half line or run fits, or option drill just to make sure that we're giving our guys realistic looks that they're going to see. And I don't do that for the whole game. I just do it until things start repeating themselves quite a bit. And then, you get a pretty good idea for how they're moving people around. And also like, scouring Twitter and all the coaching clinics to see how people align to us. Like this one down here in the bottom right, that was from a Don Brown clinic. We actually saw that defense this year, had a feeling that we were going to see it. And we're able to get prepped up for it. Can't say our kids executed in that game, but we showed it to them at least. So that's our off-season game planning. This is a big thing for our Sundays. And so what I do here is I go through all of our, enter all the play data on our plays from the previous game. And then I break out all of our non-efficient plays. So we do efficiency a lot, very similar to, I would assume, a lot of you guys. Like for us, if a play gains greater than 4 yards or gains gets us a first down or scores, that's an efficient play. And then we just take all of our inefficient plays and I export the data into Excel and into this form here. And you just go through play by play and you just start noting, all this stuff on the right, what went wrong. Like that's everything from a, players, but, I'm also going to highlight myself when I screw it up, bad play call here. Like we got, this is a lesson, like early in the game, we got into a, somewhat of an elaborate tag before we actually needed to. Like we could have gotten away. They're running a 4-3 that week. We could have gotten away with just running base mid triple, but jumped to a 2-level tag that, we didn't need to do. So this is all good for self-development. It's also good for filling out, here's what we need to hit, and whether it's our small pods or individual, this stuff, the data from this all on this right side is going to really help us complete our practice plans and get ourselves squared away there. I was talking about body blows. We want to find, like one of the things we do is we get that roster and we start listing starters. Anybody that's a two-way guy gets highlighted, and we've got to find a way to get hits on that guy. Got to find a way to wear them down, because we really pride ourselves in playing complementary football. One of the things that probably could go on that Sunday agenda for us is tempo. Like I'm going to get with our defensive coordinator and we're going to determine, like, how worried are you about them scoring a lot of points? And if they're, if we're worried about them being very explosive, we're like, I know right away that we're going to be going really slow on offense to keep the ball out of their hands. We were able to steal a game this year from a team that was much better than us by doing that. And I think we limited them to 5 or 6 possessions in the football game. We're able to win by 2 points. And so we really try to complement our defense by taking shots on guys that are two-way dudes, working the tempo in the way that it fits us. Like we'll go no huddle if we need to go no huddle. And, most often we're going against really good guys. And so we'll slow it down and make, just play keep away and keep their offense off the field. So we really want to take those body blows. The last thing is, because we can't really, dial in what we're going to see on defense, we've got to look for tells in that. So this is a playoff game at my previous school. This team eventually ended up winning the state championship. But one of the things that we were able to take away from the film, just looking at small stuff like nose guard stances, started to, as we were looking closely at it, saw that the nose guard would tell or give us a tell on where he was going to be pre or post snap, because they would play him in a zero and then stun him around, and found that when his right hand was down, he was moving left. And when his left hand was down, he was moving right. And so you start to get a feel for that. And like, I'll just make a column in huddle and just start entering that data. And then I can get a pretty good report. I think for these guys, it was like 97% of the time it was correct, which doesn't seem like a big deal. But like it helps your center be able to get up to the next level. If your quarterback wants to flip it to the other side, it helps us out. But just being able to get a tell on that was really helpful for us. We weren't able to stop these guys, but it definitely helped our offensive line out having that little thing. I just have a couple clips here. I don't need to spend a ton of time on it. It's not profound, but just taking the time to look at tells is a big deal. This is another thing. We were prepping for this team, and they were playing a heavy run team. And we run the ball a lot, like a lot of you guys, and we saw this is from the first play of the game. You see the defensive line just cuts the offensive lineman, and they consistently did that, especially when they were in that even front. So it means that now in our individual time, we've got to find time to work on how are we going to deal with defensive linemen cutting us. And so we have a technique that we teach. We call it forklifting, but and these guys actually do a pretty good job of it there. But just little things, anything you can do to, instead of spending our time seeing like, hey, what are their trips checks? How are they going to play 2x2? We're spending our time looking at personnel and trying to get tells off what the defense is doing. So that's a basic rundown of what we're doing in our game planning. In terms of like our call sheet, that kind of gets developed throughout the week. Wednesday, by Wednesdays it's done. And I'll have an example of one at the end of the slide, but let's talk practice. This is, it's very easy to overdo it. It's very easy to make that steak nasty. And so we want to make sure, like, one of the things that is key to us is minimal effective dose. Like, how can we be extremely efficient in what we do and give the kids looks at what they might see, and just, make sure that they're prepared on, my dogs might start going nuts. My son just walked in from basketball practice. Sorry if they do. But, we're trying to get them squared away so that they can apply their rules regardless of what they see. So this is what our practice week looks like. Again, we're not two platoons, so our guys have to practice defense as well. For us, Mondays is going to look very, very similar to the structure if you were to go to Harding. We're going to run our option drill and our run fits and half line. And it's going to be pretty standard. And I put these columns here with art and science. The idea is like the stuff in the science column, our fits don't really change in those drills. Like, we may vary it from given our, in our run fits period, having a shade and a 2-eye one day. But really we're going to rep our stuff against a 4-2, a 4-3, and an odd front in those science parts. And then the art part is where you kind of fill in the cracks. So like if you go to Tuesday, like I said, we have a pretty good thrower. So we spent a lot of time on Tuesday because it's primarily a defensive day for us, working passing game and perimeter game. And then what we use the small pods for, which is where we're going to break out into smaller groups. We'll have our guard, center, quarterback, and B-back working whatever we feel we need to address that week on the interior, and then our tackles and A-backs working together, whether it's working the skin on zone dive or working our footwork on belly or sprint out pass. But that's where we start to sprinkle in that stuff from the efficiency sheet. And really, like, if you go back to Monday, this Indy could really straddle that line. Like, there's stuff that we do every day that's not going to change. But then when we've got free time in there, that's when we're going to add in the stuff where we're deficient or trying to prepare the kids for something we think we're going to see. And so Wednesday ends up being my favorite day. This is where we get a little bit different from this. This was a change for us this year. And really, I look at that day as a sleep well day. We're going to run our zone option pod. If we're not running it, what we did towards the end of the year is we paired it in our run fits period. But most of the year we're having our zone option pod, which isn't going to change. We're going to give them basically the same fits every week. But then our half line changes a little bit. And how that changes is I'm going to shorten down the script, and I've got an example of it here in a bit. But we're going to give the fronts that, like, you're kind of gambling a little bit. You're like, we've got all the base stuff down, but I think we might see this or that. And so in that script, it's just a 3-play on each side. We're going to run our inside Veer tag, our mid triple tag, and then a play action pass. And then team mix is very, very similar, except we're going 11 on 11. And we're going to give them, again, those fronts that are kind of the fringe ones that don't really fit neatly into boxes. And we're going to be working a lot of tags there. And then we review that film Thursday before practice. And if you go to the Thursday, if we have anything glaring that needs to be addressed, we're going to do that very briefly on Thursday. We'll work our 2-point stuff, and that'll change by the week. And then the simple stuff, just 2-minute and gadgets and victory formation, that sort of stuff. I saw a question there, how long are our practices? We're typically about 2:15, maybe 2:30 early in the season, with 10 minutes of that being a pre-practice. So we're like if we were to split even, we'd probably be about 10 periods each side of the ball with some special teams mixed in. Okay, let's take a look at what practice actually looks like. So this is how we do Mondays. Everybody's going to get at least 10 minutes of Indy. We will start in a pre-practice period. This week we were installing, actually, it's probably too much, but 3 pass concepts that week. Just slight variations of things that we already did. So we took that time in pre-practice to work that. And then we get into, the normal stuff. So, quarterbacks doing all their mesh footwork, slots working their motion timing, and when they have time working on blocking more physically, receivers working the stock stuff. So like for them on Mondays, it's run heavy. We do get them a little bit of pass game stuff there while we're in run fits, but Tuesday's the day where they get to run around and catch balls and do all that. Our O-line gets extra time. We started doing this year, is adding our tackles into option drill because of how much we were outside releasing our tackles. It just felt like we weren't giving them a good look. Like we'd work on the tags and option drill without the tackles there, get to half line, and they had a hard time understanding where they had to fit on everything. So we decided to add them to option drill. Question, no, we're not a 2-platoon team. Anyway, run fits in this week we were pairing, because we don't run mid double. So really the second half of run fits for us, we can put whatever we want there. In this case, we were doing our zone option. Our numbering system's a little bit different. 12 and 13 for us is zone dive. 32 and 33 is inside veer. So in run fits, we're trying to give them give them a look at all the different stuff they're going to see. And receivers are over there catching balls and installing any routes that they need to. And half line. Here's what the script looks like. And really we use a template here. When we're doing option drill, we're going to give them 3 looks, 3 looks at inside veer, 2 looks at mid triple. The way that it's going to go is we're going to give them an odd front, whether you call it a 5-2 or a 3-4, doesn't really matter. We're going to give them a 4-3, and then we're going to give them some form of single high. We were anticipating getting odd stack this week, and we really hadn't worked it much prior. So that's why we threw it in there. The other thing that is important is this stuff right here. We're trying to show them all the different looks that they're going to see on the perimeter. So, whether that's corner fire, we're going to be bringing the corner, just teaching our A-backs to be able to see that, 3-2 exchanges, and anything else that we might see there. So that's what we're doing in option drill. Half line, you can see we picked 2 fronts. We felt like these were the 2 we needed to hit on that week in this period of half line. And again, we're scripting in the stunts that we're going to see. And it's, you're coaching up the defense just as much as you're coaching up the offense to make sure that they give us the right fit. And the template that we use there is the first play is going to be our inside veer variation against that front, then mid triple, then our play action pass. And then we use this one to just hit on any play that needs a little bit of work. So sometimes it's 26 and 27, which is our QB kick or quarterback powers, zone option, whatever the heck you call it. Sometimes it's belly. Sometimes it's toss if like we've got a short practice week and we don't have time to do our boot toss period, but that fourth slot's going to be for, whatever we need to hit there. And so once the first and seconds go through that, we change the front, but keep the same template, but now we're just changing tags and fits. And so, like on this play action stuff, we were working a backside route. That's why we had to call it backwards and that. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time looking at practice film, but I just wanted to show you, this, so you have a visual. This is run fits. Here's one thing we started doing late in the year. We noticed our running backs we want them when they're on the mesh to have that third step in the ground, even with the quarterback's back foot. I'd like him a little bit more square, but anyway, we took this split stick, which we use for our splits on our offensive linemen, and I just put it, I think about is 6 inches in front of his toe, just so that he had something to shorten his step up, because his third step was getting up into the middle of the quarterback, even close to his front foot, and not really allowing him to see the slide and get out there. So that's just a small thing that we did. But we script this out. Our seconds are ready to come in right at the end of that play, and they're going to get the same play against the same front. A lot of you guys probably already do this. And then we're just changing the front. This is something that came from our efficiency sheet. We show them a lot of different stuff on run fits, but we started to get guys that walked up A-gap pressures, and we were having a hard time dealing with it. So, we started showing it to them in run fits, so we do a better job with it. We're just checking everything down on that, letting the B slide out. Not a super violent drill here. Pad level is what we're looking for, making sure that our steps are where they need to be and that we're reading the right thing. So that's just what run fits looks like. Then again, we run through. I might be going too fast, but anyway, they're going to get 3 fronts with this play on each side, first and seconds going. These guys are ready to jump in. And then once they've seen that, we're going to change the play. Now we're working our 26-27 against two fits. And then we're out of there. And that period at the start of the season takes us 15 minutes. By mid-season, it's a 10-minute period where we're able to get through all that. Option drill. I just wanted to give you a look at us fitting the tackles in there. Again, we're going to try to show them all the different looks that we might see. So we're running inside veer with this is our bison tag where we're outside releasing the tackle up to a high mic. And then we're also on the perimeter. We're showing the 3-2 exchange. Coach Grimmer here started a little bit too deep. He thinks he's not as fast as he used to be. But we want to get him down the pipe quicker, just so our quarterback understands, like, we're pitching off whoever shows up. So we're not going to, we don't want to get caught with a 3-2 exchange. So we need to make sure that we show it to him in practice. Another look here, just we bring in the corner fire again. We're trying to give them all the different looks that they're going to see. Just working our tackles on the outside release, working our quarterback's eyes, pitching off what shows. We're just trying to give them all the tools they need here to be successful. So we got some mid triple going here. So this is what I was talking about. Like when, this is, if you go to Harding, they're going to call it 30 Texas swap. We'd call it the same thing. And if I really feel like if you try the first time your tackles are working this is in half line, it's going to screw you up. So we try to give them 2 looks at it because, it's just hard to understand. It's hard to replicate how things move in this space and everything without putting them in that situation. So try to give them 2 looks at that so that they do a better job with it. It ended up being a pretty, getting our tackles outside, it ended up being a pretty good thing for us this year. Option drill. And then we bump into half line, just like you guys all run it. Nothing profound here. Just we need to do a better job, be more physical there at receiver, but you get the point. So we're working half line, just bouncing back and forth. So that's what a Monday looks like for us. Tuesday, again, this is our heavy pass day. So this is where, like in our small pods, we actually broke these guys out to work one-on-ones because we felt like, more than we needed help with scoops and our check marks with our guards more than we needed them working the read with the B-back. So we had them break out that week. And then you can see here in the tackle and A pod, we're working our sprint out protection. We're working our two-man surface belly tag, and we're working skinning on zone dive. This is also the day where we hit belly quite a bit. Then we work through boot toss, and then we get into team pass. And so the O-line's working pass protection up here for 10 minutes while the receivers are doing routes on air. But come on now, load up for me. Okay, so this is an example like how we use TNA pods. So like we hadn't really shown that. What I think the hardest thing if you're running belly to a two-man surface against an odd front is when the 4 technique stunts out, and we get it every once in a while. But at this point in the season, we really hadn't worked on it with our guys, and so we really need these guys to trust. What we're trying to groove in here is that they trust their tracks, and like if that guy is not on my path, I'm continuing. And we're also training this guy, just you're tracking the hip and you're running the track as well. And so, we just had to show him that in practice, just to get us prepared for that. And this is one of my favorite drills because like we can handle a lot of different things. Like right here, we're working the skin on zone dive. Tackle needs to. I know this isn't a zone dive clinic, but this drives me nuts, man. That tackle needs to really get vertical with that step and get on his toes and not vacate that, leaving the A back on an island. So we do that. Then we get into our boot toss period. We normally don't have this many guys out on defense, but this was during the playoffs, so we had a bunch of young guys to spare. So normally we'd be doing it without him, and without him, and the backside corner. But we're working all the front side guys. This second huddle's ready to jump right in. They're going to run the same play against the same front. We'll reset the play down here, run it the other direction, come back here, change the tag, change the defense, and we kind of bounce back and forth with the last rep of this being boot pass. So we're just trying to give them all the different looks. So we're talking slugger against an odd front. Then we get we're a little misaligned. There we go. 4-2. So we're just running our standard thing. This is just our standard toss tag. Trying to get a good feel for it. And then we're running against the 4-3. And then we're going to get into our boot pass stuff on the last rep of that. I got how much individual time do you schedule for each position? Does it change? So it doesn't really change a whole lot. Like it's pretty consistent at 10 minutes on a Monday. Really, that's all that the quarterbacks are getting. Because we're coaching them up on their mesh stuff in run fits and in the option drill and everything. So they get that 10-minute period, and then whatever time we can steal prior to practice. O-line's going to get they're going to get what's that? They're going to end up with 25 minutes of Indy on a Monday. And then the small pod stuff really takes care of a lot of the Indy work for us too. Good question. And then we're just into our team passing game. Just side note, like this is the first year I've always seen this in the playbooks where people will shift out of over. This is the first year I had the balls to do it. Ended up liking it a lot because what the problem and so like you do everything to solve a problem. So like the problem we were running into towards the later half of the season is teams were giving us like basically a 6-2 and playing the overhang really vertical. So, like our natural and they weren't really working the safety over. They just kind of keep them over the ball in here. And so like naturally you're like, all right, just, pin that guy and run toss and really attack this side. Well, what started to happen is we started to develop a pretty good tendency that that's what we would do. And teams were able to get away with it because they were so vertical with this guy. And our receivers had a hard time once we got them down in here into flex to deal with it. So we had to find a way to take advantage of it. So we just figured, if we shift into a trips look, if they're not walking the safety over, we're going to be in a better spot. So If you don't do that, I'd encourage it. I feel like I might be late to the party on it, but I'm at the party now and I like it. So that's that. We use the shoot in practice every Monday for quite a bit of time. That was a question, how much we use the shoot. Monday's quite a bit, and then if we need to hit it on a Tuesday in pre-practice with the O-lineman, we will. I'm sorry, on Wednesday in pre-practice, because Tuesday is a defensive pre-practice day. So that's a Tuesday. We finish it out with team pass. I don't, you're not here to see passing clips, but anyway, Wednesday, like I said, this is my favorite day. So like we did have this was an indie period, but we turned it into a walkthrough because I just had a feeling we were going to see that Georgia Tower front. And we really hadn't, this was fairly early in the season. We hadn't talked through it with the guys. So I just, we just took that time to do it. Did we end up seeing it that week? No. So, I guess I swung and missed on that, but we did see this Don Brown stack, and I'll show you how we script out Wednesday. So you notice on the half line script, it gets shorter, but we're going to be running like, the tags start to get pretty thick on this. And we start doing a lot of different things. But like on that in the half line, it's basically option drill, but with the offensive line. So, we're going to run our inside Veer tag that we want against that. Or I'll try something out like this bison tag we typically use against a 4-3. But I felt like with the tower, it would work out and we could call it there. So this was an opportunity to test run it. So it's going to be a quicker half line script. And then we get into the team mix, and I'll either script it out like this, or I'll give our defensive coordinator the cards on here's how I want you to fit it. And he'll just run it off of that. But you'll notice like the script isn't as clean. So this changes, and there's going to be tags and formation variation, that just doesn't fit neatly into the typical half line mode or run fits mode. So this is where we really clean that stuff up and just try to, again, it's about showing them the stuff that we may see, and it just helps me sleep better at night, to be quite honest. So that's what it looks like. Our half line, like here, we're against the tower front here. I think this is our bison tag, which for those of you well versed in the Harding stuff is just it'd be 12 or 13 Cherokee for them. I didn't want to add, like, you could call this loop or you could call it whatever you want. I know some guys probably do that. I just wanted to not change the words, so because it all works out the same at the end of the day. So I wanted to keep the tags similar so that I wasn't having to scramble their brains. So we just go through a script, like here's our mid triple against that. We run 31 base there. I think base switch actually. And then we get into our play action pass against that front. We release the back on a swing when we run play action, instead of inserting them. Then we change the front up. So this is that Don Brown odd stack. It's kind of a bastard front. You're going to get an odd stack. You're going to have, I don't know, the team we were playing, they personneled it with a linebacker at this position. It could be a free safety really low. And then like what makes it unique is they typically play the corners pretty hard. Safeties are more of a half player. And the trouble spot with this defense is like, you got to find a way to get to this kid because, he's not quite a safety. He's not quite a linebacker. And so that's where outside releasing our tackles becomes a big thing for us. So, we're running, in everybody else's words, that's probably 13 Fargo switch actually. And we still don't get to the high player there. Bad angle. Throttle down tackle. So then we just, again, we're running through all, all those weird tags that we want against that front. And then this is the team mix period where, again, it's the same thought process, but things are going to get a little bit weirder. So, we're saying, like if we get that, we got to find a way to get to the high guys. So tagging the receiver to get to them. And this is just zone dive. But we're just working through all those scenarios to try to give them a look. Thursdays, I don't have any film because we don't film on Thursdays, but it's just nothing crazy there. Okay, game days. I'm gonna try something with this. I'm gonna first show you like the material that we have, and I'll be totally honest. Like I've gotten more things from Harding. Those guys are great. We were sitting down, and I think everybody asked, like, well, what are your press box guys doing? And they did a really good job presenting, like, here's the thought process that we go through up in the box, and here's what our communication looks like. They did a really good job talking about that last year. So I really literally just stole it, put it in our words, and created this worksheet that our guys up in the press box have. And they just start filling this out as they as the game goes. So we get a good idea. And what it does, especially if you get guys that are less experienced up in the box, it really helps direct their eyes and gets them looking where you need them, so that they're not just watching the play. They've got the specific thing that they need to look at. And then I give them this space here to start drawing stuff out. And so it has a lot of the questions that we want answered. Like we always, like, I want to know if we're going against an odd front, like what's the demeanor of that nose guard? Is he slanting hard? And that's where I put that hand key. Is he tipping it by which hand is down? Is he flat, and is he riding with us? Like, are we going to be more successful doing things like slicing them, running a slice combo when we're running mid triple? Or are we going to need to be more physical? That sort of thing. So like all this stuff helps answer questions that we might have, and they do their best to relay that information to me on the headset. And then this is what my call sheet looks like. And the way I print this out, this on the screen is probably bigger than what it is in person. Like I don't like having stuff hanging from my belt, and I don't like carrying around a big piece of paper. So I just turn this thing into a little trifold that fits in my pocket. We run off of wristbands. We huddle, but we have the ability to run off wristbands. So like these were all the calls that were on the band. And like if you're one of our opponents, like you can go ahead and take this. I have a Excel thing that randomizes all this every week, so like it doesn't matter. And then we have code words to get to different things as well. But like I put on this side, here's all of our stuff by concept. Is this all the stuff we can run that week? No, but this is all the stuff that we have the ability to run in no huddle, if that makes sense. So like when we start huddling, like we tag the heck out of it. But this would just be baseline stuff that we have on the band. And I think that the key, like I don't think that this is profound, but I think this is something that we started doing that I really like. So like I was always against scripting specific plays, because like number one, you have no idea what the hell you're going to see every week, and it becomes just a wasted time. And so what I started doing, so I went away from it completely. I'd just go into a game and just call whatever. And what I found, like with my personality, if I don't test something out early, I'm less likely to go to that later in the game. Like if it's nut cutting time, and we need a big play, and I don't know how they're going to line up if we get into trips, like I'm not going to call trips, because like I need to know where they're going to be. And so learning that about myself, I started saying, all right, well, instead of scripting plays, let's just script formations. And with each of those, like I've got, here's the question we're trying to answer when we're in that formation. Like for this specific week, when they were playing a spread team, the way that they rotated to trips looked like if they rotated the same way against us, we were going to be able to get mid triple off to the weak side, because they would over rotate to it. So like I wanted to know when we got into trips, where's the safety? Are we able to get it back away from trips? And if not, then I'm really not interested in running it. And so we would go through all that stuff there. Do you script the formation and not the play? Yes, correct. Like I can tell you right now, like if you did our tendencies, that first play is going to be duo 13. Like we're going to run zone dive probably to the left. But it's from there, I'm not guessing it. Like I've got an example here. We're going to go through the opening drive from this game, and I'm just going to talk about like, what our thought process was and how we get a feel for what people are doing. And you'll see why, like, I don't really want to script the play, because like in this game here, let me get to it. And I'll turn off the audio. They come out right away in that Bearcat front. This team was a base 5-2 team. Like that's all that they'd shown all year. And so, and the previous year when we played them, they were in a 5-2. And so, we come out, we see something completely different. Zone dive's good against anything. So, that's our first play call. But right here, right away, we're already knowing, okay, we're in something completely different than what they've run. So, zone dive, nice, easy, simple play. We run it. And then the very next play, they get into, oops, went too far. We're having end zone camera issues this game early. They change fronts up on the next play. They're in a 4-2 or a 6-2, however the heck you want to identify that. But I wanted to see, the next play on that script was get into double flex. And so here we are, we get into it, and another pretty safe play is running 26 and 27. We don't block it well on this play. Our A-back runs into, in fact, this guy will be playing at Harding as a B-back next year. Really good, ran for like 300 yards on us that night. We still won, but it was ugly. Runs right into the overhang there. We want to get him underneath. But anyway, this answers a question for us. Like, how are they going to handle how are the overhangs going to handle flex? So now you're like, what you're doing as you're doing that is you're starting to get yourself into different, I guess, bins of thought. Like, if we're going to run toss, are we pinning the edge, or are we better off being out wide and letting the A-back handle it? We're starting to see, okay, like if they're going to settle into this 4-2, that changes the types of tags that you're calling on mid triple and inside veer, changes the types of play action pass that we're going to run. Like we have stuff for 1 high and we have stuff for 2 high. So we get into that next one. I wanted to shift early. And I also knew that I wanted to throw play action pass early. Luckily just pass early. We're in 3rd and long here. So we decided to get into that shifting front, or that shifting formation. And I wanted to do it early to see how they'd respond, so that, when it came time to do things, like we have an idea of how they were going to align to it. So we get the first down. And then the next play the next formation on the script is trips. I want to see, again, the question we were trying to answer is who moves. Well, they got they stayed in that 6-2 look, and the safety stays right in the middle of the field. So a nice safe play to call out of trips, just to get a feel for it, is zone dive. So we go back to zone dive up top. And there we are. And at this point, I'm feeling like, okay, our offensive line is going to be able to handle them. Our B-back's going to be really tired at the end of the night, because we're doing what we need to do up front. And we get right back into it again. And, we get into trips. They didn't, one of the questions that got answered was, okay, so they're in that 4-2, but they don't really, like, they're ignoring number 2 here. And so, the next play call is our dash concept, where we've got a slant here, and then he's got a deep comeback. He's got a deep corner. He's going to late release if he's not needed. Our B-back makes the call to him. Quarterback 3-step drop, looking at the slant. If it's not there, he rolls. Why did I call this into the boundary? I don't know. Bad situational awareness. Bad, probably not the best. Probably should have ran it out to the field side, but it is what it is. But we're there. Quarterback takes the easy one. And we're in a good spot. And then we get back into trips, just to keep seeing what it looks like. Zone dive is a nice, easy play to run out of it. Keeping that free safety basically over the ball. Don't really block up the backside linebacker. but we gained 6 on it. The last play on the script was, okay, let's get into tight and see how they adjust. And so, what we could see is that they didn't really move the defensive end out with our tight end. So we know that, like, to the tight end side, we're going to have things like belly. We're going to have things like zone option, zone kick, whatever you call it. And really, like, they didn't really change the front at all. Like, we actually gain a little bit of space by adding the tight end there. Just go zone dive again away from it. Cause again, I'm just trying to get a picture. So, like, we throw the tight end out there. I want to see what they're doing with the tight end, but I know that over here, it's going to be, it's just like our standard stuff. So, they call it to the short side, and just again, we're trying to get a picture of what they're doing. And again, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Zone dive again. We're just staying with it, just seeing how we're moving bodies. Little concerned about how we're not really getting to the backside linebacker there. That's kind of a problem for us all year. And then, so notice we are 8 plays into this drive, and I haven't called an option play yet because I want to see how they're aligning and what they're doing here. And so, we call inside veer, we tag load because they're in an 8-man box, and really, like, this isn't a very good play call because when we load it, these two, the tackle and the A-back, are comboing from the play side backer up to the free safety. But if you look at the free safety's pre-snap alignment, I missed it. Let's see if they were like that last play. Last play, they were over the ball. So here he gets a little bit wider, and we don't have an angle on him. And so we end up having a guy unblocked. Fortunately, our A-back is able to, do what he needs to do and gets us close. And then we're sticking with the tight end stuff, running zone dive. This time we've kind of confirmed what we're seeing to the tight end. So decide to give it, run it to the tight end side, and don't quite get in, but, we're able to sneak it in there at the end. So that's kind of the thought process that we go through in games, and really, that's all I've got. Here's my contact information. Any questions?
Coach, I've got one real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I noticed in some of your tight stuff, y'all have the wide receivers kind of tilted in at a 45-degree angle, and I've seen more and more of that lately. Where did you get that from, and what's kind of the belief behind that, or the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, there's kind of a story to that. I didn't coach that. They just started doing it, and I liked it.
Okay.
And so I let them continue to do it. And then we go into our first round playoff game, and the officials came to me and said that, hey, because, like, our officials do a good job, like, taking feedback from coaches.
Mhm.
And our week 8 opponent had sent the film to our officials association saying, I believe that this is an illegal formation, because if you're on the line of scrimmage, you have to be square to the line. I didn't even go back to look to see if that was a rule or not, but they made us change it pregame. So I would check that. It ended up, like, we literally changed the angle of our hips like 10 degrees. And they said it was good. I'm like, oh, great. That was not a big, I don't know. It was kind of stupid, but no, the kids came up with it. I liked it. So I just got out of their way and let them do it.
Well, it's funny because I've seen it here in Texas too, and so I've heard it's been picked up, and I was kind of wondering, why people do it. If it puts you at a disadvantage to, like, release someone routes and things like that. So
I don't know. I mean, like, our guys, we didn't really have people jamming us at the line of scrimmage when we were down in flex. So it really never became a big problem for us releasing. And I checked, like, are they still doing it when we're calling a pass or whatever? And they were. So I just kind of stayed out of their way.
right, that's the best. When
I
they
just don't overcook the steak.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
Well done.
Thank you.
you did
There's looks like a question. What are your rules when you run zone dive to the tight end? I don't have clean ones for you. Like if we went out there and just ran it, he's just going to power veer just like the tackle. But a lot of the times I'll be having him base man on. I'm pretty fluid with that one. Like his baseline rule would be power veer, but like sometimes like if we got like if he's, I know I'm sinning because a lot of you guys are from Texas, but we call it a 6-eye. I'll fight that one to my grave, but inside eye of the tight end. I really don't want him power veering there because I'm worried he's going to compress the B and C gap. And so like if we get something like that, we'll be having him vertically release. If he has somebody head up, then we'll have him get after him or power veer it. But like I said, I don't have a clean rule on that. How much do you stress O-line splits, you guys? A lot. Like if you saw that that split stick that we had, Coach, do you see the chat that I pulled up when I share the screen?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll move that. Sorry.
No, you're good.
We've got that split stick. I'm going to go back to those practice clips. All right, it would be Monday. Right there. If you see that split stick right here, that is from there to there is 3 feet. So that is out because just about every day somebody, whether it's me or an injured kid, is sliding that thing in between their feet, in between the linemen, just to make sure that they're on. Another question: do you bring in another tight end or just put a receiver in the dirt? Depends on the year. This year we brought a guy in. Other years I've had a guy that was good at both. This year we threw the ball a little bit more, so we would keep 2, and we had 2 good receivers, so we would keep them on the field. In other years, like we've run the ball 92% of the time. It didn't matter who was out at wide receiver, so we would just have that tight end split out or come down. Yes. Do we keep our splits at 3 feet even on down scheme? We do. And haven't really, like, our problem with our down scheme is not usually the down block. It's usually the check mark, the kick out. It's usually the A back feeling the crease and not leaving any air in the gap. That's usually where we run into trouble. Our down blocks, because we're so far off the line, I don't feel like we really get hurt with the 3-foot split because they end up with an okay angle to get there.
Do you have any run through, Coach? Do you have any run through from the middle linebacker if you see like that 3-foot split on Belly G? We had trouble with that, so we cheated our splits in to a 1.5 on down schemes, and that's why I just kind of asked that question. We're looking at just maybe doing, I still want to have an advantage on the running lanes and all that, but just looking at trying to keep a because you can basically pretty much tell on film when we're doing a down scheme or option scheme, it kind of got to that point.
Yeah, like where were you getting the run throughs at?
Say like on we're blocking down on the 3 there on a 31 look, going Belly G right, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We call it 44 Belly G. So we would get that run through if there was a big, we pull that guard, that they see that guard run, they see that guard pull, that Mike Backer's coming.
What do you teach in the center? How do you coach him?
Say that again.
What are your coaching?
We're telling him to get flat and try to, we're trying to protect that gap. We're trying to protect that, play side A gap, but it was just hard. And that's another topic too, is we got to get better at center to handle odd fronts. We didn't do a very good job on that. And we got to have a center to be a pretty good dude on that.
That hasn't been a problem yet.
Gotcha.
I shouldn't say that. Like we started getting those guys walking up. We started getting this, like I've never had it before. Just double A gap walk-ups with that really, really vertical outside linebacker. And
we did too.
It took us a couple of weeks to get that figured out. And that'll scare me out of running belly, if I'm being honest. Like
Yeah.
there's better stuff we can do there. Like I'd rather run 26, 27, just check it all down.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what we went with. Zone dive ended up just being better. What trying to think. Do you run belly G to a 2-man service quite a bit?
Yeah, we do. I think we're better at that. It depends on the year, but the past 2 years,
What do you
we've
like
done
running that 2-man service against?
whatever.
Got you.
Preferably, I mean, it works out the best against the odd front because it's a cleaner path for the A back. We started screwing around with getting into flex and pinning the backer with the flex receiver and then arcing the A back with we've
Yeah.
had success with that. Depends on really how physical our receivers feeling like being.
Right.
But the 2-man service, I think for me at least is like I like it best against the nod. The only thing that gives it a little bit of trouble for me and the way I teach it is like if we have a 4 technique that you head up on the tackle because we don't see a ton of 4 eyes or inside eyes of tackles. I don't know what you guys call that. But if that guy head up on the tackle is kind of non-committal, like
Yeah.
he kind of comes down, but he doesn't. And then the tackle has to kind of latch on and try to bring him down with him like that. That's a little tough.
Gets messy. Yeah, most of those 4s we see, they're B gap responsibility.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just the ones that kind of slide off your hip as you're coming down. You know what I'm talking about? Like he's down,
yeah.
but he's not down hard. Like that's tough.
Yeah.
No doubt. Thanks, coach.
No problem. It's just another question with the tower look. Do you ever outside release the tight end instead of the tackle for a high stack? I haven't. Just because I don't know. I haven't. I'd have to draw that up. You lose a guy. I haven't. I don't know if you do, coach. If you do that, but like we got to, if we're gonna do that, we got to find a way to get. I would assume they're too high, and we're gonna have to find a way to get to the safety.
Well, we'll do it to the tower look. We'll
Yeah.
run inside veer where the tackle's inside and the tight end's outside. So you're hoping the tackle on the play side is responsible for that first stack linebacker, and then tight
Yep.
end responsible for the second stack linebacker.
Okay.
Then the beauty of it is now you've got the tight end on the load, and you still
Yep.
got the running back on the arc on the safety. So
Yeah, we've done that. We've done that scheme like against a 4-2 before, where we're the tackle and the tight end are running that load track instead of the A back, and the A back can still be arcing the perimeter. But we really haven't seen the tower look much. Like it's one of those things. Like I think I saw it once in it's 2017, and I haven't seen it since. We still work on it, but
Right.
haven't seen it since then.
Well, I know it's coming because
Yeah.
we saw it last year for the first time. A friend of mine tried to tell me about it, and I didn't really give it a whole lot of credence. And the next year it whooped our ass. So
Yeah.
and then I've heard at different levels they're seeing it a lot more. So there's something to be said about it. It's coming for sure. So
Yeah. I like when we saw it, it was paired with they were rotating the safety's corner fire to the motion side and everything. And
well, the thing is, it's not all that crazy, if you just
No.
explain it to your kids the right way and how to sort it out, and there's things
Yeah.
to sort it. There are things to call to deal with it, but your kids have to understand like how it sorts out and why you're doing it that way.
Yeah, we just tell them teach the low stack or treat the low stack as the backside backer and the high stack as the front side.
Yeah.
And you're in a world where you're outside releasing the tackle to get to them, or you're bringing a flex in to crack them if you're trying to get something like zone dive or belly off.
Yeah, and I like that because we just taught like inside man, you've got the first backer, outside man, you've got the second backer, and just
Yeah.
kind of let them sort that out. So awesome. Well, I think you got one more question, Coach. If you don't mind,
Yeah, the counter. We had a theory this year on counter. And our theory was if we run enough boot and we run enough screens. So like we'll run tunnel screen off of rocket, and we'll run slow screen to the B back off of play action, both of which going out the back door. If we do enough of that stuff, we don't need to carry a counter. I don't know how that theory worked out. I can't really find a counter I really like. Like I'm kind of hesitant to do the GT stuff. Just because like it's a lot to teach. We've done counter ISO before, and it works against the bad teams, and just seems like we struggled with it against the teams we need to beat. Haven't messed around with counter option. So though I've really just run counter ISO. We do stuff with flow motion, and we'll throw boot and those screens and stuff to try to take advantage of it. We'll no-mo stuff, we'll false twirl things. Yeah, I don't know. Jury's out on counter for me.
So when you said you run screens off of rocket,
Yep.
you get rocket one way and then you throw it back the opposite way, or
Yeah, so
you
like it
mix
would be your B back is kicking the corner. Your tackle is he's gonna go 1, 2, 3 steps inside, then he's flat and up the alley. Guard is same thing, and he's sealing the box. Everybody else is just kind of like a slow toss, like they're running the toss stuff, but they're not really releasing downfield.
Okay.
And then that single receiver out there just runs the tunnel.
Okay. I got you. Sounds good. All right, well, guys, y'all got any more questions? Awesome. Coach Mallory, thank you so much. Appreciate it. What a way to start off the clinic this year. And you got anything else you want to add, or?
Just thanks a lot, man. You know, this is good stuff. Like I'm excited to watch these other guys speak. Yeah, just thanks. Please reach out with any questions. Hope you got something from it.
Well, Coach, I don't know if you realize we had at most 105 people in the clinic today. So I don't know, if you realize that first, but that's quite the showing. So appreciate
right.
you. And,
Right on. Hopefully I didn't make everybody dumber. Sorry.
Well, really good job. Appreciate it, Coach. So
Thanks.
Coach Chapman, are you ready to go?
Hello.
Hey, Bateman, I'm sorry, Chad. I get
You're
I worked with a Coach Chapman years ago, so it's stuck.
Man, Coach did a great job.
So, well, now you just got to follow it up. That's all. No big deal. So.
Tough to follow, but we'll give it a shot.
Well, everybody, just want to introduce Coach Bateman real quick. I'll let him talk about himself, give you the bio if he wants to. Again, it's not about us, it's about him, but he's going to present on installing option concepts and plays with the middle school. I know with us that's been a huge topic. We have 3 feeder schools, and one of the things we talk about all the time is how do we get those guys to run option, or at least start to learn the option kind of concepts, so that when they get to us, they understand it. And sorry, excuse the dog. So little puppy ass dog. So but one of the things that we're always looking for is what do we install? To what extent do we allow them to run the option and things like that? And it's a constant conversation. You get your mixed bag at the junior high level, at the middle school level, as far as coaches go, and as far as players go, with their ability to kind of read and things like that. So I'm excited to have Coach Bateman here talking about it. It's something that we seem to revisit every single year. And I think his input is going to be really important for us, and hopefully for y'all going forward. So, Coach Bateman, I'm going to shut the hell up and let you take it from here. So,
Sounds good. Hello, everybody. We'll get started in a second. That was great by Coach. I couldn't say enough. I got a ton of different ideas what I'm gonna take from that and kind of use this season. Just got me thinking on a bunch of different new concepts. Love it. So my name is Coach Bateman. My first stop, I spent 2 years at Grand Blanc, 8th grade in Michigan as the OC O-line coach. We went 10-2 at my time there. I've been at Montrose for about 5 years as the offensive line coach, offensive coordinator. We're a super small school, so my duties change year to year, I guess, depending on who's out, who's in. Like I said, we're a super small school, super small staff, so we do a lot. It's my second year as the middle school head coach. We're 11-1 as my time as head coach there. This past year, we averaged 36 points a game, and with 8-minute quarters, can be tough to do. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. A little bit about our league structure. It's 7th and 8th grade. Conditioning starts the second week of August. Give you a little bit about an idea about how much time for install and stuff like that. It's a 6-game schedule, 5 conference, 1 non-conference. We have 1 high school that we play that doesn't have really a middle school, so we have to pick up 1 game. A little bit about our structure. Our clinic topics we're going to cover today. We're going to talk a lot about inside veer, outside veer, speed option. Really something that I believe in, something that we've been able to do at Montrose with a lot of success. Our clinic topics in depth. We're going to be talking veer option, speed option, scheme, and personal philosophy, when and why, some season install and drill progression, and a little about pairing concepts. Philosophy, why veer option? It allows us to block 1 or 2 less defenders. So if I were giving you the philosophy, right, 9 versus 11 or 10 versus 11, you're going to take it. Just our general philosophy. If we don't have to block you, we're not going to. If we can get the numbers on our advantage, we're going to take it. And personally believe when you can effectively take advantage of those numbers, you're going to win some ball games. You can game plan around certain defensive players. We've all had it where it's like at the end of the night, some guy makes 12, 13 plays and you're like, damn, what could we have done? We can't block you, right? So that read option, veer option alleviates some of those big defensive players. You can game plan around them a little bit, put them in some conflict situations where they're in that lose-lose situation, right? And we've also, at the middle school and youth level, we've had those hyper-aggressive defenses where they load the box, they send as many as they can send and just hope that you can't work around it. And one of the reasons I started picking up veer option, read option at the middle school level, we face those hyper-aggressive defenses. They're loading the box. They're sending 8, 9, and hoping that we can't work around it, right? And with speed option, veer option, man, it kind of puts that to a stop to a certain extent. It forces them to play a little bit more discipline, or they're going to have a tough time. For formations tonight, we've got flex with a tight, and empty flex. Those are the 3 formations that you're going to see from my clinic material. Just so you get a little bit of an idea. So for quick veer option, quick review, just for some of the new coaches that might not know what we're looking at or what we're doing. For inside veer, my general rule when I'm teaching my guys, inside veer is our first install. I usually our rule is reading the first man on or to the outside of the play side tackle, and that's our teaching point for that. So if you're just generally teaching your quarterback as far as install and progression, that's a key point. On or to the outside of the play side tackle. For outside veer, you're looking to read the first man on or to the outside tight end. Speed option, you can tag both blocking schemes. It's very versatile. We'll get into it a little bit more, but that's just a little bit of a quick review. So if we're running inside veer, we're looking to take away on or to the play side tackle. If there had a defensive end in this over the tight end, you look to run outside veer, right? So that's just a little bit about some quick just review, so some of you new OCs, new coaches can have an idea what we're looking at. For inside veers, first thing we're going to take a look at, like I said, reading on or to the outside play tackle. It's a versatile place blocking scheme. Coach talked about counters and stuff like that. I use inside veer as some of my counter blocking, just change what we do with the wings and tag in different blocking schemes with the fullbacks, stuff like that. So that's why I use inside veer as my day 1 install, because I can use it for my speed options, my counters, even my power reads, or not power reads, my jet reads at times. Super versatile blocking scheme, right? That's a little bit about what, a little bit of a quick review about it. Our first drill for teaching inside veer, because we've all had those quarterbacks, right? They're coming to you as 7th and 8th graders. They're not as athletic. They can't process information as quick. We're looking to speed up that development, right? The first thing you're going to want to work on And I pulled a couple of these clips. I don't have some of my own material yet. We'll get our film a little bit more towards this in the season. But first drill that we incorporate, and we work this into preseason. If you get any time in the spring, you're going to really want to work on your just quarterback getting flat hips. And what we're working on is just it's more or less getting comfortable with the movement, right? Because like we talked about, Veer option's really meticulous on what we're trying to do. So you have to be meticulous in what you practice, right? So in the spring, if you get time in spring or in the early summer, this is going to be something you're going to want to incorporate as a center and quarterback are getting snaps and stuff like that. All they're doing, it's simple, flip the hips and getting the ball back. First part of the read option, when you are having that mesh period from quarterback to running back, your quarterback's going to want to get the ball all the way back. Okay, so if you take a look, I've slowed this down a little bit. Give it a good pause. If you can see, that ball is back, and we'll get to some more film on huddle here in a second. But if you see, that ball is back, and when you're reading quarterback reading a veer option, that ball is not going to break your front hip. So what we teach, and first day install we teach hip to hip. So we're reading hip to hip. By the front hip, you need to either made your decision, whether you're keeping it or going. So that just gets your quarterback in that beginning mindset of just being able to actually do the flip the hips and be able athletic enough to get that footwork down, right? And as far as teaching the veer option, read option, let's take a little look at some film. So what we're doing here, right, we've got our motion. We're looking to read the front side end. We're running inside veer here. Our quarterback's getting eyes right too. And if you see, he's getting ball back as far as he possibly can. The more time you have for this mesh period, the more time your quarterback can make an actual diagnosis of what's going on. And as far as our problems we face with the middle school and running these type plays is that diagnosis of information, right? They're struggling with that real time first step, second step diagnosis. And when we're teaching this, we're really hammering at the middle school level one step. I really, beginning of the season, focus on one step read. Is he upfield? Is he more down the line, right? And at middle school level, teaching it piece by piece is extremely crucial. So when we look at it, this drill might seem minuscule. They're just flipping the hips and getting the ball back and getting their eyes down the line of scrimmage. It might seem minuscule, but you have to teach it piece by piece before you can move on, right? Because if they don't have this hip flip, balanced feet, ball back, eyes down the line of scrimmage already set, they're not going to be able to do the second piece, the third piece, the fourth piece of the play, right? So we stress we're not moving on until you know exactly what we're asking from you. So our quarterbacks, they get frustrated with me early. Luckily, they have me for 4 years. I work throughout. I work with our varsity and our JV too, so they get to work with me for about 4 or 5 years. But they get irritated with me at first because we move extremely slow at first. We won't move on until they've got the hips down, ball back, and eyes. That's the first piece that you're going to want to teach your quarterback. And once they can, they can flip their hips, they're comfortable enough with their feet and their eyes, we can work into this, what we call the clock drill. And I'll get into it in a second. When we're teaching our quarterback steps, one piece of teaching, I guess, advice I would say we've had success with is telling our quarterback we're looking at a clock, right? If your quarterback's standing directly in the middle of a clock, if you've got veer option or read option left, you can tell them exactly what type of step you need them to take for any given play. And this can be matched for whatever type of scheme you run, whether it's mid triple, anything like that. This is a good teaching point for your quarterback just to understand what type of step and where he's going. So if we know we've got veer left, we might tell him to take an 8 o'clock and a 10 o'clock step. So we might say, hey, your first step is to 8 o'clock. So he knows he's going from right center, his first step to 8, his second step to 10, right? And this is a big key teaching point we use, and we use it throughout 8th grade, middle school, even all the way to their senior year. This is something that our quarterbacks are pretty familiar with, and it also speeds up that meticulous teaching point, because if you know the system, you can tell them, hey, we're taking a 1 o'clock step, we're taking a 2 o'clock step, we're taking a 3 o'clock step. So I think that's a big piece in teaching what we do for our quarterbacks. So yeah, once they get comfortable with being able to flip their hips, we'll call this the clock drill. All they're doing is taking a certain step to whatever step is correlated for the play. So for inside veer, they're going to take those 2 clear steps, and you can see ball's getting back, and that's a huge key teaching point. You want as much mesh time with quarterback to running back as you possibly can. And yeah, they're just doing this if you've got time, pre-practice, 5-10 minutes, where they're just quickly going through their steps. And this is another day 1, day 2 install type drill, right? So they've got their hips down, they've got their hands down. Now let's start meticulously working on footsteps. Let's start actually getting down to what each play needs, right? And one thing we have at Montrose, if you don't have a strip and you're trying to run these type of plays, you need to either try to mimic it or create one, buy one, do whatever you can. Strip drill, we use this all the time, right? If I can steal 45 minutes, if I can steal one drill, it's going to be strip drill. We do it every offensive practice, usually 30 to 45 minutes. If you can get a strip drill, you're going to want a strip drill. This is where you can practice every day. This is how you're setting your quarterback up. This is a big piece on how we teach it. Right? It also is big for the offensive linemen, especially at middle school. We really want to make sure that we're hammering home the teaching points, right? So you can line them up exactly to their spacing that you need. But yeah, your quarterback is reading, practice and making his reads. We do this hundreds of times a week. I have a funny joke that I'll tell my quarterbacks. They'll finally get a rep right or finally get one wrong, and I'll just make a joke. Hey, we've got a couple of thousand more until you get it right. They always think I'm joking, but at the end of the season, we double back and I say, look, that's what it takes. Countless strip drill reps. And the idea is we're getting a clean mesh here. We're reading our end, right? And if you can, these should be game-like reps. Your coach here and coach here, they shouldn't be just taking these one half-assed steps down the line, upfield. No DN is going to treat it like that. Make sure these are game-like reps. And that's a big piece of running these veer option type plays. If you don't have the time to allocate to running strip drill and to actually teaching it, you're not going to have success. We've had it to where, and especially coming off COVID, we just didn't have enough time to meticulously rep over and over and over to spend as much time on it to get it right as we needed to run it on the middle school level. So there's been years where we didn't have the time to allocate, right? So if you're going to run these plays, you're going to want to make sure that you allocate a good portion of your actual practice time, because it takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reps to get this right. But if you are stealing game-like reps, it can be done. But if you're not getting game-like reps, you're going to run into these live diagnosis type plays where you're going to struggle, right? And one variation we have when we're teaching traditional versus untraditional veer option, I guess you'd say. Traditional veer option, you're cutting this backer loose and you're pitching off of them. In middle school and youth, the progression, it can be difficult at times to have this tiered of reads. And we do this at middle school. We'll block this guy and just push to conflict at times until my quarterback's comfortable enough making these two reads. We'll block this guy at times, and that's my advice at middle school level. You don't need to run that traditional read option off the D end and off the alley player, pitch key, outside linebacker. You can block them, and we've had success. We're early in the season. We're blocking them, and somewhere along week 2, 3, 4, if we're comfortable enough and if our quarterback's made enough progression, we can start to cut this backer loose or this alley player loose and read off of them, right? But it is meticulous. I wouldn't say just automatic pitch off this until you've gotten comfortable with it, and it is a process. It's a process. I wouldn't I would not commit to running this type of stuff if you know it's going to be within the system. And we talk about this a little bit. I wouldn't just run veer option these type of plays just to run it. I would talk to your JV coaches, your varsity coaches, and see what type of offensive scheme. If the reads are going to be valuable, yeah, invest your time in it. We've talked about it. It takes a lot of investment of time. And if your quarterbacks are not going to be running these type of reads, don't do it. Talk to your coaches, talk to your JV coaches, talk to your varsity coaches, and see if these type of reads are going to be valuable to them. Because if they're not, I wouldn't waste time doing it. Right. And back to, I guess, teaching points. There, we're trying to put these defenders in lose-lose situations, right? It's middle school football. You're not going to get the same look every single time. And that's not by design. Kids are going to line up wrong. Kids are going to line up everywhere, right? And it's not by defensive coordinator design. It's just kids make mistakes. They line up in funky spots. But this team, and if you teach it accordingly, always try to pitch off or read off the end man, right? And on the pitch, you really should pitch to conflict. I don't say, hey, for my middle school guys, hey, we're reading this DN, we're pitching off the second key. I will say, hey, we're reading off this guy and push the conflict. And sometimes that takes form. Let's see if I get a good clip. So, and this is a good teaching clip, I guess. Fullback takes a little bit of a hit here, but for our quarterback, he's pushing the conflict. His pitch key or who we were blocking kind of vacated. So he's just going to push the conflict to where what he feels is conflict, right? And that goes back to middle schoolers are not going to line up perfect. They're not going to line up how you want them to. They're going to be all over the place. And if you tell them, hey, we're pushing to conflict, he knows he's pushing to the first guy he runs into, right? And that's a key teaching point. When we're running the second portion of this drill, we'll have there'll be times where coach is committing upfield, and there's times he's doing a bunch of different funky things. We're giving our quarterback every type of look that we possibly can, and that's the goal. Get them prepared as much as they possibly can for in game like situations. So it always goes back to this strip drill. We do this 35, 45 minutes a day, if you can, right? And we're not just one step, two step reading this. We're getting off the ball. We're showing them every possible read that he's going to see. Just so that when they get into this game, middle schoolers, if they line up funky, and this team, time and time again, they threw everything at us. They gave us 4 down, 3 down. They tried going into some wide tech 9 stuff. But if you teach them the certain set of rules, right, you're going to be okay. And it really is about that teaching piece. If you're not familiar with some of the stuff you're doing, reach out. Especially if you're within a program that runs veer option, read option, I'm sure your varsity coach is willing to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes to sit down with you and help you out. And that's kind of where I struggled. I first came to the game at Grand Blanc. We ran all this read option stuff. And then I got my first gig at Montrose, and it's like, shoot, I wasn't afraid to lean into some of our varsity coaches and, hey, what type of reads are you guys looking? What type of development progression type reads are you looking for? So if you're really struggling on that teaching piece, do not hesitate to reach out to your coaches. I'm sure they are more than willing to help out. And because I know, and I got some coaches already shaking their head. Your varsity coach wants it done right, and he wants it. And I'm sure they're not willing, or they're not afraid to spend some time with you, even at your practice, right? But and another thing I wanted to talk about for inside veer triple option type, and when we talk about our mesh, and this goes back to seeing our drills in game, right? If your drills are not popping up consistently in game, you need to reevaluate them. And we had that time where we're at a smaller school with some older style type coaches, and we're running these drills, and they don't always translate into game, right? every time you should see, or at least have a good feeling of what you worked on in strip drill is going to be seen in a game, right? So this is where you're showing them all these funky looks. So if we're repping this on a strip, coach is he's shooting upfield, he's shooting downfield. Second read is shooting upfield, downfield, showing them every type of look so that they can be prepared for it, right? Make it in a lose-lose situation. And we talk about those one-step reads, either, and I really think the information diagnosis, middle schoolers, if you can simplify it as much as you possibly can, you're gonna have better luck. And as far as what we're telling them one to two step reads. We're not trying to make our quarterback overthink this. Take it as simply as possible, because at middle school level, that's really what you're trying to do. Take a difficult concept and make it as simple as you possibly can.
Coach, you may have mentioned this earlier. I had to step out for a second, but is your high school, your varsity, do they operate out of the pistol, or is that something that y'all do exclusively at the junior high level?
Back and forth. Our varsity team does a lot of pistol back. Depends year to year, but yeah, we're a big spread team. They bounce back and forth, a lot of different packages, but yeah, our JV is a very big spread team. Middle school is mostly pistol. I try to stay in pistol for the most part. As far as teaching purposes for Flexbone, I just feel like the balance that it offers for teaching in the middle school is ultimate. Is the ultimate teaching concept, or the ultimate teacher, right?
Right.
Being able to have it the same on both sides, I think that's making it easy for the middle schoolers, right?
Right.
And where you have that balance, I think it's super convenient for teaching purposes, to where it's same on one side, same on the other.
Right. So, and that was going to be my next question. Do you feel like the pistol is a little bit more conducive to the junior high kids, the middle school kids, as far as, reading, reacting, things like that, taking the time? Because sometimes when you're under center, it's happening right now, right? So do you feel like the pistol is a little bit more conducive to those younger kids?
So I do. I think pistol offers a little bit more for timing purposes and for as like information diagnosis for your quarterback and fullback. Pistol is extremely easy, or in my opinion, versus under center and even shotgun to a certain extent, just because of the angles for mesh and the angles for quarterback steps and stuff. I think pistol just alleviates some of that the problems that you have with those angles for running backs and stuff like that, because their tracks are a little bit more dead set versus if you're in shotgun, you've got to take a little bit of angle steps, or if you're a counter step type of guy, you've got to work on your angles just a little bit more. Whereas, if you're in pistol, I think it's easier to teach.
So
Right.
it's funny that you say that, because sorry, jumping in here. When I was up in Dallas area coaching, Gunner High School installed the Pistol Flex, and obviously Gunner, they're a big name brand here in the state of Texas now. But when the first couple of years when they installed the pistol option up there, their junior highs were strictly under center, so they were teaching them the option principles from under center. So when they got to the high school, they transitioned to the pistol. So they were kind of the opposite. I don't know what they're doing now. This was back in 2018, 2019, but it was kind of the opposite mentality of that. So I think at the end of the day, you got to figure out what kind of kids you have. If you've got smart kids, I think you can probably do, under center stuff. If you got more athletic kids, maybe you put them in the gun. So I think it's just going to depend on what kind of kids you have.
And it also goes back to what type of scheme your kids are going to be funneling into, right? If your JV varsity coach is pistol guy and through, and it's easier for you to go that route, yeah, definitely. If you know your coach is under center, definitely. Like I said, good points for sure. One thing I did want to I wanted to double back into before I move on to speed option a little bit. You're gonna get this times where I guess this is not a good clip. We'll go to the next one. Right? DB, not DB. DN, he's not knowing what he's gonna do, right? By this time we've ran inside Veer probably a couple times. And we want them in those conflict situations, those no win type situations. So if the DN follows motion out, we're running underneath it, right? That's the joyous of triple option football. when you call it, you're in a pretty safe spot, right? You're as long as you've taught it well enough, you're in a pretty safe spot as far as matching scheme to defensive front, I guess I would say. So if you can teach it right, it is I wouldn't say stressful on the a new offensive coordinator, but it can be safe at times, especially if you've taught it right. You can put these defenders in no-win situations. And you've seen it. This kid, this time he doesn't know if we're trying to go out to the pitch or if we're trying to run underneath it. And with middle school, this eye candy, they're not disciplined enough to actually diagnose all of the information and see what's going on. They see this motion and it's all eye candy, especially from the schools that we play. They're just not disciplined enough to stop these type of plays. And I think this clip really shows it. They tried, and you see this in middle school, they load the box and they just send the house, right? And this alleviates that. If you can run Veer option right, they can't just load the house. They can't. It's not going to work.
Coach, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
As far as like techniques and things like that go, we try to do the same thing. We try to get our junior highs to kind of mesh up with what we're doing at the high school level, and we teach them things like the Harding stance and the Harding steps and things like that. How much do y'all really press technique and things like that with the younger guys? Is it more concept based, or y'all just trying to get them to get the idea of the play, or y'all hitting home with the technique and things like that?
It's a little bit of both. It's not a either or. I think it's an and. It's finding that nice mixture of as far as, yes, we want to hammer down the play and all the scheme and stuff like that, but I'm big on doing it the right way. We'll spend a lot of time on our mechanics and stuff like that, but it's really about finding a nice blend, because with middle schoolers, they're not going to retain as much as you think they're going to, and that's the problem. So you spend all this time on mechanics, double teams, this, that, and the third, and then they get to you as a freshman and it's like, son, what did we talk about? You worked on double teams your whole life. Like, so there is that overlay of like losing information. So you find a nice balance. I think it is kid to kid, because you know which class you have. Where you have a class like this past class, our offensive line, they weren't as football IQ. So we really hammered home mechanics, because scheme, as far as them, they're not going to remember scheme day to day, as we had to do a lot with little blocking schemes this year just because of the group of kids we had. And whereas last year I was able to do a lot more up front and a little less on the mechanics side, because they were already tuned athletically to where they could not remember, but muscle memory some of the stuff a little bit easier. So it's about finding that balance.
Right, I got you.
Let's see. Let's get back.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off.
No worries.
These are all questions we face every day.
No, of course. We'll get into speed option a little bit. I think on the middle school level, speed option for me has been one of my most efficient plays. It's been my bread and butter for the most part, especially on middle school level. There's no quarterback running back mesh. So as far as teaching, there's a lot less to teach, and it's a lot. It's in my opinion, it's a lot easier to run. Right. So let's take a look. A couple of ways that we run our speed option real quick before we get into some teaching stuff. Well, we run it in two ways. We run it to the back and we run it to the motion wing. We've had a lot of success running it to the motion wing, letting loose and man a line of scrimmage, whether it's he's a wide tech over the outside zone, or not outside zone, outside veer type look. But yeah, speed option can be tagged with either blocking scheme, and that's why I find it extremely easy to run and extremely easy to teach. So let's take a look at some of my speed cleaning stuff.
Real quick, not to interrupt you, but
no worries.
When you teach those kids those kind of schemes, are you teaching them, especially on the speed option, are you teaching them areas? Are you teaching them counts? Are you teaching them just first thing that shows, that kind of stuff?
So as far as speed option, we teach end man line of scrimmage. So it's a natural inside veer, outside veer check because our guys, our outside tackle and our wings are immediately calling who our end man line of scrimmage. And our tag is called Sally. So they know whoever Sally is, we're not touching them, right? So as far as I guess it's more or less area because we're looking at end man line of scrimmage. And we'll get into it a little bit here in a second. Yeah, we're looking area for the most part.
Okay.
And what I like as when we're teaching, it's a super easy pair with inside veer, right? Because your teaching parts are almost identical. But what we're teaching here is our quarterback's going to attack the outside shoulder all the time, and we tell him, if anything, not to force it, but really that's our teaching point to really attack that outside shoulder. We tell the quarterback he's got one man to block on this play, and it's that defensive end. So it really it's a read to a certain extent, but we're having our quarterback account for that defensive end. And as far as teaching points, if this defensive end commits to the running back, he's going to slip underneath as if he was the inside of your dive back. And what that'll look like. So if this defensive end gets upfield and follows this wing back pitch back, he can try to scrape underneath that double team and just get the 3 or 4 yards that we're looking to get. But if we take a look at film, I talked a little bit about pushing to conflict, and what this means is middle schoolers are not going to line up and they're not going to do what you think football players should do all the time, right? We've had it to where you're looking at a defensive end and like, how did you react to that? Or a linebacker, and you're like, why did you react that way? Because they're middle schoolers. That's how it happens. So when you have this rule of pushing to conflict, yes, more than likely your conflict's going to be your defensive end. But let's say for the teaching purposes, he vacates, whether he's knifing down, I don't know what he's doing. He's going to keep pushing, whether it's this alley player that's filling the gap, a backer scraping across, a DB breaking the stock block. He's going to push to conflict. So it doesn't always take form in pitching off of this DN. And I think teaching that on your strip drill is big, right? So when you're lining up as the read man, you're flexing out, you're getting upfield, giving them all these different looks to over and over and over and again to where it becomes natural reaction instead of thinking. And that's what we're trying to get to, where he's just reacting to what's going on around him. And if you take a look, defensive end gets upfield. We don't block him. Great. He pushes to conflict, and now we've got numbers to the outside. And that's the joyous things about running flex. You have all the space to the outside. We're condensing down. It gives you a ton of green to work with. And as middle schoolers, if we can put our best against your best in space, you're in a good spot. As we all know, tackling in open field is one of the hardest things to do, right? So if at the middle school level, if we can put our best against your best in space, we're in a good spot. I think I have one good teaching clip. Let me pull it up here in a second. Great. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Your quarterback needs to know the difference between your defensive end just kind of flailing out and actually committing to the wingback. And we've had over the years, this was one of the hardest things to teach in game and in real time. Where your defensive end, he does take a couple steps out down the line of scrimmage, right? So your quarterback he's taught to get underneath it and try to hammer it home in the double team. But there needs to be a clear distinction when you're teaching this, that if he doesn't commit all the way, you can still push to his outside shoulder and pitch it, right? And this 2-point conversion doesn't work because he thinks that this defensive end has committed to the back. Yes, he has taken a couple steps out, but if he were to continue to push to conflict or to push to his outside shoulder, we've got 2-1 and we still got our numbers. So when you're teaching that, make sure that you're repping that specific scenario as well, where they don't quite take the pitch man, but they don't quite commit to you. And in this case, I would have loved if our quarterback continued to push to that defensive end's outside shoulder. I think this 2-point conversion gets in, right? And he's taught if he commits all the way, he's underneath. So he does kind of what he's taught, but you got to make sure that there's a clear difference there. And that can get difficult because quarterbacks see it real time. There's a guy coming at them. It can get difficult. But yeah, I think as far as the set of plays we've talked about tonight, speed option extremely easy to teach. As far as your strip drill, make sure that for whatever way you're running it, make sure that these are game leg reps. And that's what I have to say, I guess, about the strip drill, just because it's so valuable to us teaching. And once we get down to where we feel comfortable, whether it's just running back, quarterback, coaches, and maybe a couple wings, we'll go to half line. And I know Coach talked a lot about half line. We spend, and that's our progression, right? So once the quarterbacks can work on their hips, they can flip their hips and get their eyes downfield. Then we'll start to work in a little bit of a mesh period to where you're on the strip drill, and then we'll work in our half line. And then once we can do our half line, then we'll put the rest of the boys on the field. And it really is teaching it in that meticulous order that that's how it needs to be done, right? Work on one piece. So once you get your hips, eyes, and ball placement down, then you can start to work into your clock steps, or however your specific personnel steps for each play. Then you can work into half line. And half line's just running it with like I said, six to seven guys. You're working your guard tackle. So in this case, we'd be working our center guard tackle versus DN, D tackle, front side backer, and an outside backer. And once you're starting to execute it on that type of level, you're good to move into the rest of the guys and move in the rest of the defense. And as far as teaching purposes, make sure that your quarterback is comfortable with seeing the defense in a various fronts, right? We played probably 20 to 25 different fronts here. And if you teach it right, as long as you're teaching it in the strip, they're comfortable, and that's what it is. You're trying to set up your guys for as much success as they can. And it comes down to just overly preparing them and trying to overly spending time with them, right? Pairing two concepts. In the youth level and middle school level, you're not going to be able to run 4 to 5, 6 to 7 concepts. You're going to want to pick 2 to 3 concepts, whether it's a fly sweep, a speed option, inside zone, midline triple, and inside zone. You're going to want to pair your best concepts. Don't over exert yourself as in trying to run this, that, and the third. I've been known to go into a middle school game with 3 concepts, whether it's inside veer, speed option, and a sweep. If you can execute, I'd rather have quality over quantity. And we've ran into that problem with middle school coaches, where they think that their kids are sponges, or they think that they can run all these different concepts, but they're not teaching them all the way through. And that's my whole thing. Teach it the concepts all the way through. So if you're an inside veer guy, if you're an outside veer guy, don't just pick the concept and teach it at its the inch deep, right? You want to teach the concept all the way through, because ultimately, as far as growth mindset, you're going to want to pick reads that your quarterbacks are going to be doing throughout their entire progression as sophomores, juniors, and seniors, right? Pick concepts that they're going to benefit from, because if they're going into a power T team, they're not going to be running all these veer option type plays, stuff like that. So make sure that you really pick concepts that are going to pair well with what they're going to do over time. And that's my advice to, I guess, to a certain extent. Work with the time restraints that you have. Utilize your strength of your team. If you know that you're not going to get very much push off the ball, you could be looking into other various read option type schemes. But I'm just saying, work into what you have and work with what you have. Don't overexert yourself into stuff just because you want to be this, that, and the other coach. Make sure that you know and run what you can teach. But that's all I got for you guys tonight. If you guys have any questions for me, I can email you guys any of the film or anything like that. A little bit of my contact info. Do we have any questions? I know we ran through that relatively quickly.
We had one question, Coach, from Coach Herrera. He asked, in triple option, push to conflict means the quarterback takes the ball in a lateral direction instead of replacing the read key. Is that
So what I guess let me pull up one little clip. What I teach push to conflict, it just for as teaching purposes. Your quarterback he's going to carry that option part of his drill out until that someone or a defender forces him to pitch it. Right? And as far as this, conflict can be defense screaming up the end or screaming up the field, but conflict could also be, let's say he carried this pitch out to the next level. Conflict could also be a defensive, a linebacker scraping across. It could be a DB scraping underneath. All I mean is by conflict is, yeah, pushing to somebody that is going to force you to pitch the ball, right?
Right.
And more than often, it's going to be your read key, but with middle school football, it's not pretty, and kids don't often react how we need them to react. So my teaching point is just push to somebody who forces you to pitch the ball.
So, I mean, I don't know that you necessarily teach it this way, but is it more of like an area kind of read or
To a certain extent, yeah.
read?
Yes. Initially, yeah, we're reading that defensive end.
Right.
But in cases where he doesn't respond the way we need to, I'm just saying push to the next level. Yes, push to the area, which is usually our open space,
Okay.
getting upfield. But yeah.
Right. So to me, it's like high school football. We're teaching read one, pitch two, arc to three. Junior high football, like you were saying, you don't know who the hell number two is. You don't know who the hell number three is. So you just run to your freaking area, and first guy that's there, you pitch. If he's not there, then you just keep going.
Exactly. And
Essentially, you're not teaching a true pitch key. You're teaching a first guy, the first threat is who you're pitching off of after you pull the ball.
exactly. In that second phase of the option, really the next threat.
Right.
And if your team develops as far as IQ wise enough to where you can start identifying that second pitch key and those next level progressions, great. We just haven't been able to have as much success with identifying that person consistently. It's just not something we've been able to do as much. We were able to do it a little bit this year with the group that we had, but just on any given year, it's tough.
So that kind of leads me to my next question. Like, there's always the argument, and people talk about how in junior high and middle school, those kids don't react fast enough to be able to run the option and things like that. Is that kind of your solution to them, quote unquote, being able to react fast enough or have the mindset to kind of use more area kind of reads instead of
to a certain extent, because you're finding a balance. And we have it. It's tough. Yeah, just finding a balance, I guess I would say.
right.
Right.
Got another question for you. Is there a path you teach the quarterback to take on push to conflict?
So after for speed option, I guess it's space, like you said. As far as we're in these flex type situations, so we have all this open green to the outside. But yeah, we're just pushing to this open space. Get vertical when you can get vertical is what we tell our quarterbacks. If you've got space in front of you, don't pass it up. You get vertical when you can get vertical, and your pitch key is going to stay with you. But yeah, take ground when you can get ground is what I would say.
I got you. Well, guys, any other questions for Coach? I'm being honest, that is a great conversation. I know we talk in the office all the time. We do our junior high meetings every year. Talk about what we want them to install, what we want them to do to kind of like prepare those feeder kids, those feeder schools to come to high school and run what we run. But it always seems to be a fluid conversation. So, Coach, great job. I wish we had, you're always looking for junior high guys that are locked in and want to teach those kind of concepts. And you really kind of gave us a lot as far as progression and things to kind of work with those guys. And if there's anything else you want to add, Coach, anything?
Nope, I don't have anything. Like I said, if you guys need any help, reach out. I know we kind of went through that relatively quickly, but I'm available to help out. So if you have anything in the meantime, just reach out to me. I'm super responsive. I'm here to help.
Awesome, Coach. Well, one of the biggest things is, when you're part of a program, when you're part of the triple option, the flex bone, the biggest part is not necessarily when they get to high school, but before they get to high school, right? It's trying to get them prepared for what they see. And to me, when you talk about like those kind of area reads and near conflict and things like that, that's the kind of stuff we're looking for. I know at Alvin High School, you know, things that we're trying to teach those kids, because there's so many guys that say you can't teach junior high kids how to run the option and stuff like that. And, you know, there's always that back and forth. Can you, can't you? Is it the type of kids, the group you have, things like that. So
If you got the time allocation,
yeah.
it really comes down to if you're like, because I know some middle school programs they get a week, 2 weeks before they're rocking and rolling, right? So if you really don't have, and as far as this, to do it right, you have to have that time allocation to dedicate to running strip drill, to running half line, to doing these meticulous little things to actually make it succeed.
Well, and I think too that you have to have coaches that understand it too.
Yeah.
You can't take a triple option coach and go tell them to teach an empty set where they're throwing the ball 40 times a game either, without them having coached in it, without them having to learn it. So to me, I think, although yes, we want young up and coming coaches coming through the junior highs, the guys that want to work their way up, guys that are eager to get to the high school level, be head coaches, be coordinator, all that stuff. I still think there's an important spot for experienced coaches down at the junior high, people that have been there, done it, that can teach it the way that it's supposed to be taught too. Because, if somebody told me right now to go coach offensive line in a spread offense, I would struggle with it because that's not something I'm familiar with, and so I think that's important too, is having key pieces down there that can actually teach it the way that it's supposed to be taught. And so, Coach, I think you're doing a heck of a job up there, with how you're teaching it.
I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys were able to take something. I know some of this might have been monotonous for the experienced coaches and stuff like that, and it's more centered towards some of the newer and young coaches. So I know hopefully you guys were able to take something from it, whether it's philosophy.
The beautiful thing about the flex bone, man, is it is monotonous, man. That's what makes this thing so good, is doing the same thing day after day after day after day. And so it doesn't matter if you've heard it once or if you've heard it 100 times, man. That it's still, you're always going to take something from it. So, man, you did a heck of a job. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I appreciate just being on here, getting to talk some ball.
Well, Coach, I think you were the perfect compliment for the first night tonight, and I think you answered a lot of our questions at Alvin High School, and hopefully helped a lot of people out. So, thank you so much, Coach. Appreciate you.
No, thank you for having me on.
And being the guinea pig, y'all have done enough these Zoom clinics where y'all made it easy on me, so I appreciate it. So
no, it was fun. Like I said, just reach out to me if you guys ever need anything.
Absolutely, guys. Get Coach Bateman's contact information. Reach out to him. This is going to conclude our first night of the clinic, guys. I got to be honest. I could not be more excited, more appreciative. We had more than 100 people, up to I think 105 people attend the clinic tonight, and that's a big deal. So continue to spread the word. Thank y'all so much. If y'all ever have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to reach out. We've got a few open spots still, so if you're interested in presenting, to me, I think this is a great opportunity. If you've never presented, if you've never done a clinic talk, and you're halfway thinking about it, I think this is the great opportunity, or the best opportunity to do it. Do it from the comfort of your own home. And in my experience, I'm not a big clinic guy. I'm not a big speaker in front of people, because I always figure people that I'm speaking to know more than I do. But I am a firm believer in the more that you do it, the more natural it feels, and the better you are at it. So by all means, if you're interested in presenting, please reach out. We've got a bunch of open slots still, so please let me know. But guys, I cannot thank y'all enough. Couple things before next week. Again, we're gonna send out the link on Tuesday afternoon before next week's for y'all to log on. And then again, selfish plug, we've got 2 or 3 spots open on the offensive side of the football. Looking like running backs, wide receivers, possibly quarterbacks, fullbacks. If you're interested, we're real flexible. We just want to get a bunch of great guys that know the flex bone, that want to come down and coach at the highest level of Texas high school football. So, guys, can't thank y'all enough, and looking forward to doing it again next week. So, let's make Wednesdays the best night of the week. talking a little Flexin football. So thank you guys. Appreciate y'all, and see y'all next week.